I don't know about you, but I love getting something gold for my birthday. And apparently Abarth agree, because this is the 75th Anniversario 695 Abarth. And as you know, we absolutely love these little pocket rockets on the channel. I owned two and I just fell in love with their quirky personalities, which come at a compromised cost, but nothing nowadays comes close to a car like this. Hi guys, I'm Tish and welcome back to my channel Auto Social UK. In today's video we're going to be looking at the 75th anniversary Abarth 695 and everything you get included, but we're also going to be talking about something quite sad, and that is the death of the petrol Abarth. Abarth have now announced that they'll no longer be selling the 595, 695 and 500 petrol models, with an electrified future which includes the 500e and the forthcoming 600e. And for me, I find that quite emotional. So we're going to talk about that in today's video. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. And if you like new car reviews and car content, then you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. So before we get into the emotional bits, let's talk about this car. So this is the Anniversario, and yes, I am saying that in some kind of Italian sense. It is an Italian word and I'm probably absolutely butchering it. It does not sound nice in an Essex accent whatsoever, does it? So I might just go to start calling it the Anniversary instead, to celebrate 75 years of Fiat, which is a long time. But this is a very cool model to commemorate that. Now they're only going to be building 1,368 models, which is very specific. So why? Well, that is the exact displacement of cc's from the engine, which I think is pretty cool. And only 200 of those 1,368 are going to make their way to the UK. So if you wanted one of the last slices of Abarth history when it comes to their special edition cars, then maybe this could be worth investing in. So what else do you get? Well, as you can see, you get a very fetching colour combination. So you've got the black pearl paintwork, and then you've got the contrasting gold alloy wheels, and of course those have got the ventilated Brembo brake discs and also the brake pads, which are finished in black for the anniversary edition. I like them to be finished in red, but I think when it comes to a car like this, when you've got a lot going on, they definitely need to be a subtler black. You've also got a very cool Scorpion on top of the roof. And if there's any car which is worth putting something on the roof, it's got to be the Abarth, because it's dinky enough to be able to still see it. What else do you get? Well, you get lots of different graphics. So we've got this graphic down the side of the Abarth logo, which comes in that almost camo print that they have on a lot of their models. And on the side, you've got a wonderful 75th Abarth badge. So let's take a look around the back, because of course, something which is essential in my opinion on a petrol Abarth is definitely present. And those of you who know your Abarths will know exactly what I'm talking about. That is the quad record Monza exhaust. There really is no other stock exhaust system on a car under £40,000 that sounds so good than this. And of course it's also in that almost quirky design of having the two exhausts stacked on one another. So you have this really cool vertical design set back into that rear diffuser. I personally absolutely love it. Sure, it's a little bit difficult to live with, especially if you're in a residential area, because there is no starting up this thing quietly. Now I am going to talk about space very briefly, but there are videos all over YouTube which document exactly how much space you get inside of the 695 or 595. But let's quickly cover it for those of you who may be considering living with a car like this. With the rear seats in place, there's 185 litres of boot space. That's a whopping 126 litres less than you'd get in a Fiesta ST. So don't buy an Abarth if you regularly need to transport wardrobes. And it's the same story in the back. If you're an adult, you'll be quite uncomfortable. Headroom is tight and the rear bench is rather narrow, so you'd have to be on good terms with whoever you're sharing with. Inside of here, it feels quite familiar because it shares a lot with my Competizione, which I had for about a year. That includes this lovely steering wheel. You've got leather on the sides, you've got Alcantara on the top and bottom, and you've also got this carbon effect down the bottom, and you've also got that lovely racing stripe on the steering wheel as well and around the buttons. It just feels super special. You've also got Alcantara trimmed all the way across the top and the front of the dash. It just elevates it above other models from Abarth, which sometimes use plasticky elements. Now, that's not to mention there isn't plastic elements elsewhere in the car, but it really doesn't bother me. It's something that the Abarth has always come with, and I'm just completely used to it, and I've actually come to expect it. What always makes me laugh about this brand is, compared to anything else on the market, other manufacturers spend years developing their cars and answering issues that people have with them. Are they comfortable enough? Is that slightly awkward to use? How could we improve that? And Abarth seem to just do the opposite. They say, that looks cool, stick it in the car. Does it quite fit? No. Do we care? No. And I almost love that brashness about them. So talking about these seats, so you've got these wonderful bucketed wing-back Saybelt seats, and these are great. They're finished in leather. You've almost got this denim effect in the middle, and you've also got the contrast gold stitching with that massive Abarth 75 Anniversario badge on the seats. And I love the way that you can just peek those through the windscreen as well, and it just shows that you have something truly special. On the backs of these seats, they are completely carbon as well, so that makes them feel a little bit unique and like you've got something truly special. Are they comfortable? Absolutely not. If you're anything bigger than me, you're going to really struggle to get into these seats, and even I struggle to get comfortable in them, and I'm definitely not the smallest. But also adjusting them really makes me laugh because it makes no sense whatsoever. So the adjustments for these backs of the seats are on the side, and you need to twist them, but you can't actually access them with the door shut. You have to open up the door, and then you're able to access the twister to be able to put your seat back front and forward, which really makes me giggle. Now, these seats can go forward and backwards, but they also can't go up and down, so you are just in this one position, and you've got to be happy with the steering wheel's reach as well, because once again the steering wheel goes up and down, but it doesn't do reach adjustments either. So getting comfortable in the Abarth is pretty much just, this is how it is, and learn to live with it, which you actually do. Also, the gear selector, once again, this is finished in like almost a metal, and this makes me laugh too, because when it's really cold, this is freezing cold, and when it's hot, it gets really hot, which I just think makes me laugh, because you think that'd be something they'd answer really quickly, but this has been in here for years and years. But it's all the makeup of what makes such a quirky car so different from everything else on the market. It goes against everything else out there, and that is its charm. Now, let's talk about something where the charm starts to lose out a little bit, and that's the infotainment system. So once again, it's got the same infotainment system that you've found in cars for years and years. At least it's got one. Previously they didn't have one, but this is pretty old now. It's been replaced in all of the other Fiat products, and it's really very unresponsive. It doesn't always work the best. The sat nav is really super slow. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but even I found that a little bit laggy. But once again, I'm really not too fussed. The graphics are quite cool. So you've got a car coming out of the garage when you first turn the car on, although I would have loved if that would match with the Anniversario car, because I'm absolutely certain when I had my green comp, it did match on the screen, so I wish that was the case. And you've also got this wonderful button in here, which is the Scorpion button. So press this Scorpion button, that puts you in sport mode. That gives you the full performance of 178 brake horsepower. It also opens up the valve of the exhaust. It makes the exhaust louder as well, and you get some racy graphics which come up on the screen. Sure, it's not perfect. In fact, it's anywhere near perfect, but I still can't help but love it. Now, lastly, of course, is the very important part. So I'm going to try and get as comfortable as I possibly can inside of the Abarth, and let's go and take it for a spin. have had so much fun this week spending time with an Abarth again. It's like a tiny piece of my personality is just starting to come back. The yobbo piece of my personality that possibly I should have left behind, but it's coming back nonetheless, and it's a piece of me that remembers just why so many people love cars so much. And it's that ability of freedom. Having this car on the drive has made me just want to get out in this car, drive it down the back roads and eventually end up at McDonald's. And I'm not even joking, that is actually what this car makes me want to do. When I had an Abarth, there was a real sense of community when it come to this brand. I went to a couple of car meets, I was connected with other people that had them, and I think that's a joy of cars that we're starting to lose a little bit when it comes to going electric. And let's face it, if there's going to be any car community that's going to go kicking and screaming into electrification, it is going to be Abarth, because their owners are purists. They know that their cars are compromised, and if you haven't driven an Abarth before and you're doing a bit of research, you'll probably find that people say they're unreliable, they're not particularly well built, and their drive is compromised. And I can't dispute any of those facts. Every single one of those facts is true. But beyond all of that, it's not about that. It's not about having a car which is going to be really enjoyable and comfortable to drive. It's about having a car which puts a huge smile on your face and just encourages you to go out and drive it. And unfortunately, despite adding in the false engine noise into their 500e products, and with the new 600e, which is going to be one of the fastest and most powerful Abarths yet, they just haven't quite captured that personality. Although I've driven the Alfa Romeo Junior recently, and that car was a lot more mechanically tuned to be a good driver's car. So that does actually show that possibly the 600 is going to be amazing. But it's still an SUV. It's nothing like this car. I mean, you can barely even call this car a four-seater. Let's face it, you're only getting two people in the Abarth, and most of the time you're only going to be driving it with one, really. It's just going to be you and the car. And I think having a chunky SUV is just not really exactly capturing the personality of this car. So let's talk about the 75th Anniversario in general. I'm going to actually try and discourage myself from going a bit bonkers, and we're going to take it out of sport mode for a second. I know, it's sacrilege, isn't it? But when it comes to the Anniversario, there's not a huge amount of upgrades, or really any upgrades, compared to something like the Competizione. So this gets the 1.4 litre T-Jet engine, and that produces 178 brake horsepower and 250 newton meters of torque, and that gives you a 0 to 62 time of around 7.8 seconds. And none of that sounds particularly exciting, but it's all the other little components that are added onto it which make this car so enjoyable. Of course, one of the big ones is going to be the exhaust system, that record Monza exhaust. There really is nothing else out there at stock that sounds like this exhaust. And sure, it is a bit silly. It does sound like an Asbo exhaust, which has been just, you know, drilled holes into to make that echoey noise out of it, but it's just a little bit of fun. And I get really frustrated sometimes on platforms like TikTok when people say, I don't think that sounds very good at all. It's not about that. I understand. Compare it to something like a Cayman or a car which is like 3 times as expensive as the Abarth. Of course, the exhaust is not going to sound as good as that car, but you cannot find me a car under £40,000 which has a stock exhaust which sounds like the record Monza, and that is part of its sparkle. Just driving this car home now, it makes me feel a little bit emotional, and I'm being dead serious. It does make me feel a little bit emotional that this is the last run out of these cars, because I want everyone to be able to experience an Abarth in their lifetime, experience the silliness and just the change of personality you have when you drive a car like this. And I do think to lose that from our roads, it is something to be really sad about. seems weird to say, but what makes the Abarth so special is how little it's changed since 2008. But we had this same discussion when it came to the Mazda MX-5, and actually that's possibly the only other car similar to this which has so much personality in such a small package, something that we just don't get nowadays, and these cars have got to be celebrated. They have the same personality, the same target audience, the same driving engagement that they had when they were first released, and I think that makes them very, very special. I'm really sad to see the loss of the petrol Abarth. It's something which has shaped me into who I am, and it really has been a huge part of my car journey. But let me know, what do you think of the Abarth, and what do you think of the 75th anniversary car? Maybe you have some really special memories of spending time with your petrol Abarths. Let me know them down below. I really hope you have enjoyed this video today, guys. If you have, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Until next time, see you later.